Hello guys, right, let me just check the sound, hang on. Okay, right, that should be working with any luck. It's so frustrating sometimes with Windows defaults, obviously, to different devices, and you've got like cameras and whatnot. Okay, let's have a look. Right, let me just get my devices prepped. Then we'll get in. So we're going to have session 4 of 2d6 Dungeon with Arundel Knox and his journey into the dungeon. We're going to carry on, finish this level. Then maybe talk a bit about the Kickstarter, because this is currently on Kickstarter. And some of the stuff I've got planned. And obviously we can talk about the tables as well. That'll be really useful, because I've got to decide on how I order them. Let's have a look here. I've got to decide on how I order them. Aha! Let's have a look here. Steve, thank you. Aha! Let's have a look here. Steve, thank you. Hey Declan, how you doing? Good to see you. Nick, Steve, right, good. Okay. Now, it was just a question of which mic was working, and I think that one sounds okay. Let me just double check that. Because if you want the best sound I can give you, let's have a look. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Excellent. Good. Right, so we'll have a bit of a recap. Hope you're all well. Things are going really well in the world of 2d6 Dungeon. The Kickstarter is doing fabulously, much better than we had anticipated, which is awesome. As you probably tell by the stretch goals, because they've kind of tumbled away, and I had to put some new ones in. Arundel Knox. We've had 2 sessions with him so far. And let me just slightly adjust my camera a little bit there. It's difficult to get this camera exactly right. I think that looks probably about right. Yes. And he's done really well. So we went up to level 2. Which was great. Now, he was on 20 health points. I've been using this character for a tutorial. So you probably remember he was on 20 because he went up a level. And he has got 258 experience points. You need 500 for the next level. Now, ideally, we want the really, you don't want to be reaching level 3 when you're still in level 1 dungeon. So I think it's kind of worked out. You kind of expect to get to level 2 on level 1 dungeon, but then level 3 is harder to achieve. And we don't have that much space left on the map to explore, so we've got that to come up. I told my wife to expect to see 10k on this Kickstarter. I hope so. Well, I don't know how much you know about how Kickstarters work or fund, Nick. You probably know quite a lot, because I know you're a bit of an old hand at these things. But usually in the first 2 days, you get a good percentage of the Kickstarter. So we'd say took 4.5 in that first couple of days, and then you should repeat that at the end. So we should be looking at 10, as you say, based on that. But then in the middle, depending on how it hits on the searches within Kickstarter, depends on how much you get. So if, for example, organic searches in Kickstarter turn up 2d6 Dungeon, then we're going to do much better. And hopefully be pushing towards 15, 20. Fingers crossed. Bearing in mind this is our probably our main source of income for our family and our business. Okay, so anyway, we'll finish this off, finish this map off, and get the stairs in. Hopefully he survives, and we will then have a look at the Kickstarter. Maybe throw out a few questions. And maybe we'll talk about tables, Steve. I know. Yeah, that's pounds I'm talking about, Nick. Yeah. So the dollars makes it look more for us. God, the cost of living out here is ridiculous. I've just got to close the blinds. The sun's just come in. Yeah, we have this thing called the cost of living crisis over here in the UK at the moment. It's painful. Steve has said, Toby, is there any way we can help push 2d6 up the search rating within Kickstarter? Well, yeah, there are ways. There are things that can help, and that's really nice of you to say, Steve. So, again, social media is a good one. So, it depends on your networks. If you're doing any tweets, if you've got any YouTube or tweets or anything, let's start with Twitter. If you tweet, put hashtags in that correspond to this type of game. So hashtag roll and write, for example. If you do a tweet, people search on those tags, so they kind of they will look at those. What's it called? The stream of that particular hashtag. If you have a Reddit account and you partake in Reddit and you contribute stuff in this sort of genre, then dropping kind of links or hints in those arenas is a good thing. I've avoided Reddit. I find it quite toxic. But if you're part of a group, only if you're part of a group, not if you just suddenly join a group and then do a post, does it really help. Because you don't want to look like you're just joining a group to advertise. You've got to be part of a dialogue, and generally that's a good policy to have with any social media, to be honest. And if you've got a YouTube channel, like Scott's got a YouTube channel, so I'm hoping that he will do a video for me about the game. He's covered Rad Zone in the past, so that's kind of where we're going with that. So that would be really sweet if he's able to do that. Thanks, Steve. And I know that Daniel is going to be doing a video this coming week, so that's really going to help, because that's very focused on people who like dungeon delving. So it's that type of thing. Look, I mean, I'm putting stuff out there organically. It's picking up in Kickstarter, so I'm pretty pleased with third day. It's been really good. It's been better than any of my other Kickstarters, so that's really positive. Putting comments on the Facebook page always helps. Google picks up on any posts that are have a conversation about them, so it makes it, because it triggers it as a popular thing, so the analytics will then grab that conversation. So leaving comments like you do, Steve and Nick, like you both leave comments, so that is awesome. And yeah, that's the type of thing. Just being part of that dialogue is just awesome, and I appreciate everything that you guys do. got a little bit of a sore throat today. I've been trying to put together some some tutorials, that's what I'll call them, where I look at combat, I look at generating rooms. So I'm working on those at the moment. I'm going to edit them and put them together and see whether I like them, and if I do, then I'll put them on the channel. So that's fingers crossed. Is there anything else? Just yeah, I mean that's largely what it is. We never want to shove something in someone's face too much, just as a group, because people don't like that. It's just adding stuff into conversations, making people aware. Something that helps DR Games is if people put reviews of my games on Drive-Thru RPG. That's a good one. And go into Board Game Geek and maybe start conversations there, or like it, or follow it, or contribute to some of the forums that kind of stream from Board Game Geek. That's a good platform. So, yeah. No, thanks for asking, Steve. What about Board Game Geek? I often watch videos of games I consider buying on there. Yes. You've read my mind. So what I will do is, once Daniel puts his video up about 2D6, I will put that link onto Board Game Geek, and that will then appear as a review. Populating that page is important. So, and it's quite difficult for me to do it all. People will start putting stuff in there, reviews. If people have a blog and they write a review, I can put a link to that in the Board Game Geek page, and it kind of spreads the word. It's been pretty organic so far, which is so awesome. I've just been so pleased with the responses and the kind words that people have been saying about the game. It's just brightened up my day every time. And I have little periods. I read a thing and I'm buzzing, I'm tripping. I get in and I bang out some more tables, and it just inspires me. So that is so good. It kind of contributes. That makes me work harder. Being creative all the time can be very tiring and stressful. Even though I love doing it, I'm so lucky to be in a position where I can do it full time. Sometimes end of the day I'm just like wiped out completely. Okay. Yeah, Board Game Geek. Nick says, question on locked doors. When you check the locked doors, do you check individual doors, or are all doors in the room locked if you have a individual doors as you go through them? So let me just, I'll put a little note here. Check to clarify all or one locked door. Make a little, I'll just check the rules and see if I did clarify that. That's an easy little thing that could be missed. You just mentioned it, yes. Hey Cody, welcome. Good to see you. Hopuck, how are you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Cody says, good afternoon. It is curious as how you get YouTubers to review your games. Is it a service you pay for, or do you ask for a copy to review to benefit both of you, or something else? Well, good question, Cody. One of the things that there are a number of different ways of doing it. You can pay YouTubers to do it. Yes. That's something that I've never done. Okay. The second thing is, but there are avenues for doing that. You can contact people directly, and some people will advertise it on their channels. Secondly, you can send somebody a free copy of a game. That's a good way of doing it. So being part of that YouTuber's channel. So I watch numerous people, including Scott. Actual name is Brian Moore. Brian, excellent. The avatars confuse me sometimes. Good to see you, Brian. And guys, thanks for backing as well on the Kickstarter. You are awesome. So back to the YouTubers. So yeah, sending them a game. So I've done that a few times, and that has worked. So people put up content, and you get like a review. I've done that a few times, and then I also stipulate when I send stuff to people, they don't have to do a video. You know, that if they like the game, then they can review it if they want to. You know, it's free. I want them to see it and understand my presence within the market. And I think if your Kickstarter's going well, then that also channels into YouTube. So if you're looking, if your Kickstarter's doing well like mine has, it appeared on one of the top games on KickTrack. I think that's what it's called. And where they monitor Kickstarters, and people search games through that search engine, and people have been coming to the game through there as well. But this is the big thing, right? Open up a dialogue with people, get to know people. There are certain people that I enjoy watching, and they talk about the stuff I'm interested in. Like Daniel at Dungeon Dive, I cannot recommend him enough. He's so awesome, and I've been watching his stuff for ages now. And of course, it interests me because I'm designing games, and I love all that stuff. And you know, I'm just fascinated to see what he has to say and how he reviews stuff. And he's a fan of Radzone, and so he's sort of, he can see the connection with 2D6 and my style of design. So he's kind of backed me. So I'd say try and forge relationships. I'd do that with Twitter, do that with YouTube, do that with Instagram. Do it across the board. If you can get to know people, offer them stuff, help them, you know, just be friends with them. Enjoy it. Show that you enjoy it. That's one of the key things. If you can get that across, people start to believe in you. And listen, people want to enjoy themselves, and if they see that I'm doing it, then they can kind of think, well, I'll do the same. You know, I'm not trying to trick anybody with this. This is honesty. This is how I see things. Yeah. So we've got rules do state when you go to leave a room through a door to check if it's locked. So just wanted to verify. Yes. So that's the case. Okay, cool. It is just that door. So you go through that door, you check it, and you check each one. It's kind of like, that's the physical reality of it, Nick, in a sense, in my mind. That's why I see it that way, because if you check one door, you wouldn't know that they're all locked. And that's kind of how I try and make it as real as possible, you know, within the limits. Brian took him a while to get to my name as well. Between Twitch to YouTube, lol, yeah. Yes. I'm amazed that I remember with the different avatars, to be honest. My brain is so kind of chaotic. And Brian says, question for you. To get legendary, can it be 10 times level 1 dungeons or 10 level 1-to-1 levels? I assume the latter, assuming level 1 is just the playtesting. Yes. And I hate to tell you this, Brian, but I do stipulate that in the rules. So you have to do each level. Yeah. So there is a little section in the rules that does explain that. So you can keep doing level 1, but you're only going to get the level 1 box ticked in your legendary status bar. And the same goes for the layers. The layers are going to be 1 level, but they don't contribute to your dungeon level. They're just something else that you do as a capable warrior, you know. Cody says, great tips, thanks. Agreed. Daniel is great. Geek Gamers as well. Yes, definitely. Icatus Bane, never say it right, which is Scott. Definitely get in there and have a look at him. I watch his stuff. Who else do I watch? You know, I just click the thing that says, maybe I'll put a list of YouTubers that I watch. There's about Evil DM as well. I watch a lot of them. They just get like maybe 50 to 100 hits on their videos. Who else have I? there's a whole bunch, and there's some of them have got geek in the name and some of them don't. So I'll make a list and put that up, and I've put that down here on my notes. So list of YouTubers that I enjoy. Often one of the things that I love to do is I also listen to podcasts as well. So I'll put down a list of podcasts as well that I listen to. One of the things that I'm really interested in is in the history of RPG. And one of those games that I've just noticed the Evil DM is doing a series of videos about is the Marvel Superheroes game. Really loved that role-play game. Played it extensively back when I was younger. And I've been reading it up again recently, and I've drawn a few maps, science labs and stuff like that I've sort of been thinking, oh, I'd love to have a role-play group. I don't have a role-play group at the moment, which is a real shame. I really enjoy role-playing, DMing, and I up until about a year and a half ago, I was teaching. I left teaching to do this full time, but during the teaching, I was running role-play groups of say 10 to 15 kids playing role-play games, and I had to DM that. That was some challenge. Okay, right. I've waffled on. Sorry about that, guys. Let's try and get into the game. Let's do a few rooms. We'll take some questions later on, no doubt, and we'll have a look at some of the things that have come up as a result of the Kickstarter, which is fascinating. And that's another thing I would say before we get going. If you've got a game, if you can get it out there and have people play it, set up a Facebook group or just get family members to look at it. Just get any sort of feedback. You've got to be open and expose, but be honest to your vision. If someone suggests something, in your mind, you've got to weigh it up against the principles you set for that game, and not be afraid to be a bit different sometimes. So it's an interesting challenge. I've been an artist and designer for, 30 years now. So I've worked as an illustrator, I've worked as a teacher, I've studied a doctorate, I've got an MA, I've done lots of things, and the whole design side of it's always been there. You're always looking at, how I'm going to design my next painting, or, there are. It isn't easy, but I would just say, just be open if you're designing stuff. If you want to communicate with people, just be honest, and that's how I approach things anyway. Try and present who I am as I am. Okay, enough of that waffle. So, Arundel Knox is in this dungeon, and we've got a number of rooms. He came to this holding cell over here in the top left-hand corner, and there was nobody in the cell, as far as I can remember, and this reinforced door is locked. It leads through to a very small space I can see on the map. So that isn't going to lead anywhere. You don't, for the rules of the game, you don't have to visit that room. Okay, dead ends like that can be left if you want to. If that space would lead to say 2, 3, or 4 rooms, you have to explore it to get that level 1 tick. That is basically the rules for completing the level and getting your legendary tick in space number 1. So I can leave that one there. I am going to explore this top space. Now, sometimes we're confronted with the space that is ridiculously narrow or something like that, but that doesn't mean that there's not going to be a room there. So we're going to go up here, heading back down this corridor. We're just carrying on the same session. Okay, so we're heading into this space here, and we're going to go north, and we're going to go into this space. We get a 3x2, which, funnily enough, is a small room. So we're going to put it bang on, put it slightly to one side, and do it there. Let's see how many exits we've got. 4, so that's 2 exits. So we can't put an exit here, but we can put an exit here, and we can put an exit on this side. You can't obviously put one here where the boundary of the dungeon is. So we're going to put an exit over here, and we'll roll on the small tables just like that there. Archways for small rooms. And let's get the small rooms table out. Now, just so you know, I am working on the next update. We've got I've got a series of corrections to make. Not a huge amount, but enough. I've brought enough together. There are no doubt other ones to pick up. Kind of monitoring the tables is so difficult as far as errors concerned. But the tables themselves, I'm going to be reordering alphabetically. We're going to try it that way first. Reorder them alphabetically in the book, in here, and I'm going to have to rename some of them as well, which is a real pain, because if you think about it, if I rename a table, I've got to then make sure that any references to that table are also renamed. So that is a real pain. As I build up all these tables and things, it becomes increasingly difficult to search for references to other tables. If I was to add a numerical value in front of each table, then I'd have to rename all of the references within the tables. Now, listen, I would be willing to sit down and do that, but I don't. If it was numbers, I'd then have to change the numbers again if I then added it in another table. So it's really tricky. So I think I'm gonna go with alphabetical. We can talk about this again later. But yeah, we'll just have to see how that goes. Okay, so we've got a small room. Rooms 32 squares or larger. 16. That's also got the small tables on. Okay. Room 6 squares or smaller. Now each level is going to have their own small rooms table and large rooms table. Now level 2, which I've been working on, is going to include things like the throne room and larger rooms, because level 2, in fact, we'll go over this in more detail once we finish the map, but is going to be more kind of it's going to be more about living quarters and having the kind of the more important figures in that habitat. Right, I've got my cat. It's just at the window. Hang on. Pan, his name is. Come on, Pan. Get in. Right, I'm just going to let him out of this room because I've... Oh, you've lost your collar. Come on. Come on. Come on.
He's lost his collar again, has he?
Come on, go to Mummy. Can you...
Pan. Come here, Soggy Moggy.
Okay. Cat is gotten rid of. Excellent. Right, let's see this room. And there's a thing from Corey there, which I will read. Right, what have we got? 2. There is nothing in this small space. Snake eyes. So that is an empty space. Don't roll that very often, but it is empty. So we'll just leave it like that. It's like an extended, bit of a larger corridor. Okay, we're going to go into this space here. This is obviously a fairly limited area. But we get a 2-1. Okay, so that is a short corridor. Just expands it a little bit along that way. We can't have any exits going this way, so there's only going to be one exit that way if there is an exit. 6 there is, so there's a room up this top section here. And wow, double 6 we roll. Well, it fills this whole space. Now, this does throw up an interesting thing here. You can see where I've written on here, holding cell. I'm going to have to rub that out and write that up here so I can fit the room in. Because this square area here could be used for part of this room, which it will be. So 6 by 6, we just fill this entire area, and we've got a room at the top here. Okay. Cody says, I'm impressed by how much you could fit into these tables. What size font would you recommend as the smallest scale that's still easily readable? I personally have bad eyesight, so I don't go lower than 10. I think they're all larger. It is tricky. It is very tricky. Because you can create a table and put the font in, but then if you reduce it to fit on the page, then that obviously reduces the font as well naturally. So it can be tricky. So I just have to sort of have a bit of a guess, but I try not to go below 10 points, as you say. So it just becomes too small then. There are just one or two little areas where I've had to shrink some text for just minor things, like if the roll the die or something like that, some small bit of text. But generally I try to keep it above 10 or above as a general principle. What program do you use to make these rule books? Good question. I use Publisher and the Microsoft Publisher. Pretty straightforward product. I quite like to go for one that is a bit simpler than any of the more complex, expensive products, because I find Publisher perfectly fine. It's quite straightforward, and if you know Word, like I know Word extensively, I use Word a lot, I do a lot of my writing on it and maybe transfer it across the Publisher, then it makes sense because the layout is the same. So that's generally what I use. So, and then I use Photoshop extensively. I've got many years experience using Photoshop, so I'll make graphics to sort of drop in. So it's a bit of a combination of Photoshop and Publisher, which works well. The tables I use Photoshop to make the tables, which is probably not the greatest way of doing it. Right. Nick says, Cody says, nice, Publisher is my go-to, exactly. Control H should be able to do a find replace to fix that table name issue for you. Let me write that down. Control plus H should be able to find replace. Well, yeah, each one's a separate file, so I've got to open each separate file. It's a bit mind-blowing. God, when I did the latest update, I sat down. It took me days to get all those tables updated and changed and layout, and I'm streamlining the process, using Word a bit more to drop the text in, so I know exactly how many characters long each box is. So I write it and then drop that text into the box. It's quite difficult, but what I am finding is that you don't need a huge amount of text to make something exciting. You know, I kind of knew this. Right. So we have got. I haven't left a bit of. I'll leave a bit of space here to write what the name is. Right. So let's see what this room is. Level 1 rooms. Here we go. We have got 3 guard post. A small burner provides warmth for 2 chairs around a low table. Okay, so we're going to have a fight here, I think. Going to have a little burner here. A little burner. I've got a couple of chairs here like this. And around a table, and there is a guard here. Roll on GT1 after roll on table IAUT1. Right, so we've got a fight. Steve, good question. Can you not set the tables up in Word as tables? I had a look at that. But what's clear to me is the tables in Word do not look as good as I can make them look in Photoshop. Now, some people say, well, that doesn't matter to them. But I'm going for like a mid-level aesthetic with this game. I don't want it to appear like a catalogue when there's loads of tables just in a book. I want it to appear quite bold and visually pleasing. So I had to look at the different varieties of tables that you could access in Word, and I thought to myself, I just don't like the way these look. You know, I like curved edges and attaching graphics to it and doing stuff like that. And that's kind of where my brain went. Now, that may mean that perhaps I'm not an advanced user when it comes to understanding tables in Word. It probably leans more to the fact that I'm really experienced in making stuff in Photoshop, and I kind of feel safe doing that. Now, it has meant that there are some errors that I have missed because Photoshop doesn't have a word checker, not that I'm aware of anyway. I wonder whether it does or not, actually. If you know if Photoshop has a spelling checker, then please let me know. Okay, so we've got the guard post. Put guard post here. Just squeeze that in top there. And we're rolling on Met 1. The one table I've got around the wrong way here. So we've got up here. What have we got? 2, a guard. Okay. Let's get the guard out here. And we'll set up a combat here. Like so. Agreed, but wouldn't it be easier to build the tables in Word tables? You gain the benefit of the search, replace, etc. Then put the final versions in Photoshop. I don't know how much longer that would take me. But I am doing that now, to be honest. So I'm now typing the searches into Word and then transferring them across. So yes, I am kind of doing that. And when I first set out about this, I was unsure of how many tables there would be, so I kind of started in Photoshop, and now and that was like months ago. So that's like earlier in the year. So now, yes, as we can see, as we've all learned together, I can now appreciate that doing more in Word is of benefit. Again, I don't know whether you've ever managed 2 big projects like that side by side, so a big Word doc and a Photoshop doc. When you make a correction, you have to then correct both. And I just find that it makes things drag out so much more. So I've got 10 corrections. I've got to do them in Word, and I've got to do it in Photoshop. The thing that makes it sound... It sounds obvious, but then as you operate it and you deal with all the issues, you tend to find that there are things that suddenly make things worse. So like having to transfer, because I obviously write the rules in Word and then I transfer them to Publisher, but I've had to make so many corrections. It's now I'm correcting in Publisher and not in the Word doc. So which I'm kind of, that's the first time I've done this, and I'm kind of like, having done tons of projects both ways, correcting in Word and updating in Publisher, and I'm kind of like now thinking, well, I'll try and correct it in Publisher. Publisher does spell checking and see if that works. Right, let me just get the guard out. I'll set this up. I can see you've got a question there, Brian. Just bear with me. I probably passed it. No, there is. Guard. Okay. So it's just one guard. And here's my guy. So, round 1. Don't need that die. Round 1. Bearing in mind the guard blocks with the shield on secondary 3s, 4s and 5s, minusing 1 damage. So that will be any attack I do is the shield helps deflect against it. So 3/3 on my first attack, which means I can do the pummel, which is 4/3. It does d6 minus 2. The interrupt from the shield block means it's -3 damage, which makes this quite a difficult one. So no damage on that first attack. And then 4/5 for the warrior, which is they have 5/3 and a 6/2, so they cannot shift. Round 2. I roll 3/6, which I cannot shift with my current stats. So I will then roll again for the warrior, and they get 6/3, which they can shift to 6/2, which means they can do the swipe, which is d6 minus 3. Now, that is a 6/3. Let me just put that there. 6/3. Now, I have a jerkin, which blocks primary 4s, and a bishop's mantle, which blocks primary 5s and 4s, and secondary 4s. So I cannot block any of that damage. They do d6 minus 3 damage. And they roll a 1, deflects off, or they miss, and it doesn't do any damage. Round 3. Another question. I've noticed some beast interrupts have 2 names. Some have both names capitalised, some just the first word capitalised. Is that an oversight? Yes, it is. Yes, I need to... That is a good point. We need consistency in interrupts. That's actually one of the things that I'm going to be doing with the new update. I need to go across that. And listen, if you spot that stuff, guys, just let me know. Double documents can lead to multiple errors is the problem. Yeah. Brian, you're not wrong. I know. Oh, sometimes my brain is exploding. Shield block on screen now is a case in point. Yes. I've got parry. Yeah, heat wave. The block, capital B on the block, is a very good point. Yes, I need to go across that and decide. It should be a capital shield block. It's an actual thing, so we'll probably capitalise that. Okay, good spot, Brian. Now round 3, my go. 3/1. Ooh, that's ugly. I cannot shift to pummel or drubbing, so I miss, and they get a go. 5/2. They can perform the stab, so I shall shift that to 3/5/3. They can shift the 2 to 3, and they can do their attack. They can hit again. Right, this is 5/3. So I actually have the bishop's mantle, which here blocks primary 5. So I get to -2 damage, which really massacres that particular attack. So the stab, the bishop's mantle, just really gets in the way of that attack. Okay, so 5/3, it's d6 minus 5 damage. He needs a 6 to injure me. And she doesn't do it. Okay, my go, round 4. So we've kind of had an interesting kind of backwards and forwards here. But we've got round 4, and the shift is back up. 3/4, I get a shift of 3, which means I can shift it to drubbing. Now, blocks on primary 4s. Shield goes up. It blocks, takes 1 damage. So this is just d6 damage, whereas normally it would be d6 plus 1. And I roll 6. And I haven't actually written down what their hit points are. Let's do this here. That is a awesome drubbing. Guard 6 damage down to 1 point of damage. Ooh. Excellent. Bishop's mantle is a collar that goes around the neck. It's kind of like, well, I guess in a sense you can think about it, the bishop having the collar, This is like a piece of armor that is it's like you slide it over your head and it covers your neck and then the top of your chest. And they're really cool. I love the way they look. Okay. Their attack, they get +1 shift as well. So 4, 3. They can do the stab attack. They can't quite shift to the swipe. Now, if we shift it to the 5, so we can see what it is, I get to -2 damage because of my bishop's mantle. Steve's favourite piece of armour. So let's put that down there. 5, 3, -2. So again, that makes it difficult. They need a 5 or 6 to do me any damage. And 4, they don't do me any damage. Okay. Right. My attack. We're back around 5 and we have 2. And you'll notice I am now a stronger, more powerful warrior. With the extra piece of armour, which I was able to buy and go out, it's having a good effect. And bearing in mind, when we face level 2 creatures, they're going to be doing stuff like they're doing higher damage. So minusing the 2 is not going to be as effective against them. But it is effective against the level 1 characters. Right, let's have a go. 1, 5. Ooh. That is not a good roll. Can I shift? I've got 4. I could take that to... No. I can't reach any of my dice sets for my maneuvers. Right, okay. So, their attack... 5, 3. That is an exact strike. They don't get any shift bonuses with exact strike creatures. It's only something that the characters can experience. But that means they do hit. Although they can shift it to a... No, stab is their best attack. And although having said that, no, they'll shift it to the swipe because they know the Bishop's Mantle is effective against the attack and that should make it -4, whereas the swipe is -3. So I can shift it to 6, 2 because it was close enough because they had 3 shift. Right, and their damage, they don't do any damage this time. I've noticed there is an armor table but no weapon table. Is this deliberate or just left for the full game? No, that is deliberate. I made a decision to... Well, I had a good long think about this. You've really struck on something there, Brian. So, one of the things I don't necessarily agree with is when you play role-playing games, people just will buy a weapon, use it, and then buy another weapon and use it. I personally feel like you'd have to train with that weapon, get to understand it, know it. And so... Although I overlook that often with games, and like, yeah, you can use that weapon, you're an expert. And some games have systems where you become experts or proficient, as to say, D&D, proficient. But I kind of feel like you would have one weapon as an adventurer that you use, your trusty weapon, and you get to choose from 3 weapons at the beginning, and each of those weapons has its own set of maneuvers. And that's just how I felt the game should present itself. I just felt that was a good way of building something into the game that was like a pride, having pride in your weapon, understanding it, knowing it. So that's kind of where that comes from. So you pick one weapon to begin with. My Arundel Knox, he's a beast with the heavy mace. And he's got a Bishop's Mantle. There's something a bit monkey or clericy about him and the way that he approaches things, and maybe that's how I'll channel this character. He's a bit like the priest in Talisman, with that big dragging mace. I don't know whether you've seen that character. If a monster rolls a double 6 and can still shift to a maneuver, do they? No, they don't. In fact, someone asked me that, Nick, and I clarified it. And I've written down to clarify, or I clarified it in the last update. You cannot shift from a double 6. You just do your prime attack roll. So it just leaves it as is. It just the one action. So yeah, I hope that makes sense, Brian. At the moment, that is how it is. I mean, I guess in some future expansion, there may be the option to do that. But with each weapon, there are a set of maneuvers, which is the kind of like that main function within the game. All right. So where was I at? Darn. I think it's my go. I'm going to roll to attack. 2, 3. So I can shift that to a pummel here. I think we're up. Are we up to level? I think we're up to that. Don't hold it against me if we're not. 2, 3. So I can shift. I've got +5. I can shift that up to do 4 on there and 1 on there. Yes. So we will do a pummel. Now, that's D6 +1. His shield takes 1 damage off it, so it's just D6 damage. So he's going to be dead. He is with that. I lop his head off. Okay. Or her head off, as the case may be. So, the guard dies. He's dispatched. And we have a table to roll on, a random pouch table. And now, in the last update, I did slightly adjust the pouch table. Just because I felt like we needed more loot in the game, having looked at what people were finding in the play testing. So that was all contributed to that. Thank you, guys. This is the RPT1 table, random pouch table. And we roll 2d6. It's -1. So we've got 6. There are D6 silver coins inside the pouch. Let's have a look. 1 silver coin. That guard has been spending his money. Right. Okay, so there's nothing else in this space. There can be no other exits in here, and that's why I didn't roll before, because all the walls are occupied. So it's a dead-end space. It's a little guard post, which is quite nice, really. Okay, so I've got this side of the dungeon house. So the exit's going to be over here somewhere. The final room's going to be in this corner, and I'm going to put the stairs in there. I'm not going to worry about this space over here. I'll kind of block it off a little bit. Brilliant. So let's push on. So interestingly, you see here, we've got 2 exits. Now they may well go into the same room. That's the flexibility of this room generation system. You can kind of fit things in if you want to. So let's have a look. So I'm going to go through this top room here. 1, 1. Wow. Okay. That's the second time I've rolled that today. So that is a double. So we're going to roll again and add the next one to it. So we've got 4, 7. 4 across and 7 down. Or up, as the case may be. So we've got 4. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Interesting. So you've got an exit down here. So that is, don't count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's that room there. So it goes to there. Excellent. So that has created a large space. Now, we've got to find out how many head flies across the room. Excellent. That's a bit late with that one. Very good. They don't pay guards much. No, obviously not. Either that or that guard had a habit that was eating into their monies. Okay, so we have got here a room that is quite big. Let's have a look and see what it is. How many exits we got? 5. Okay, we've got 2 exits, which is interesting. So we've definitely got 1 exit this side. I'm going to put it up here because then, with any luck, this room down here won't be. This exit won't get in the way. Now I could put an exit down here in this space, that would lead to a very small room here. But I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it. You can make a decision. If you see a little space like that, you can say, right, no, we're not going to have an exit there. That's fine. It just would be pretty pointless. It would be a little small room. That would just be 3 by 1, which in a sense would be a corridor. And so it kind of goes nowhere. That's up to you. So I'm just going to colour these sections in so we can see a bit more clearly exactly what's going on. And really kind of lays it out neatly. Now see what I did there? I should have left a bit of space to write the name of the dungeon. Did it again. Name of the room. Okay. Alright, so what is this space? Let's check level 1 ancestry tables. I think you're going to be... oh, I missed Brian here. Was thinking down in level 10 you'd be outclassed, but then the way you do combat with dice sets, this won't be a problem. Clever. Well, thank you for saying so, Brian. Appreciate that. Yeah, well, it's craziness up here. I'm kind of thinking, as I'm designing, I'm thinking, how's this going to be when I've got like 3 maneuvers, and the enemy's got 3 maneuvers, and I'm thinking, what are the chances? That's why, if you look at the maneuvers, you'll see that I've limited certain numbers. You can't necessarily roll them or be protect. You can't necessarily hit those numbers, and the armor's the same. So there are certain things that you can't protect against. So there's always a way of being hit. I'm trying to think ahead, but it's going to be a whole different ball game when we actually play that level, which is a little way off yet. So, but I'm already a third of the way through all the tables for level 2. So that won't be long. And then once that's done, we want to get that out. I'm going to release it to you guys, if that's all right, for testing and or having a look at. Okay. Right. We need to see what's in this room. Let's do it. Level 1 ancestry. What have we got? Let's do it. 3, 4 prayer room. Right, now this is a unique room. Have we got a prayer room before? We do have a prayer room. All right. So we can't have another prayer room. So I'm going to have to roll. You roll again if that's the case. You roll again on the table. 36. All right. Indoor camp. 3 chairs sit around a burner to one side. The room is warm. That was one thing I didn't do over here before we move on. So we had to. Sorry about this. We'll just go back. Occasionally this will happen. Get a bit carried away. So that other room, if you remember correctly, said roll on table. Where is it? Here it is. This is quite an intense table. IAUT 1. So that dispatched with the guards, and this table here, interruptions and unexpected. Now this is part of the game because I want to introduce other role-playing aspects to it, such as shrines and quests and traps and stuff like that. So this adds another dimension. So let's roll on here. 55. What have we got? So this is the guard post. 55. There are several stacked backpacks here that look like raid spoils. As you approach and hold your nose as something is off. As if sensing your presence, a rat jumps out of the pile and attacks. Fight a huge rat. There is nothing of worth in these packs. So there's some packs over here. So I've got a rat that I'm going to have to quickly fight. And that shouldn't be too difficult, seeing now I'm kind of upgraded a little bit. Right, let's do the rat. You know, famous last words. Let's put that in there like that. Huge rat. Not a huge infected rat. This shouldn't take too long at all. There he is, looking somewhat psychotic. Would love those tutorials to explain each of the scrolls and how you use them in action. Excellent. Ooh. Okay, scrolls in action tutorial. Good idea, Nick. That is a good point. Now, one of the key things to remember is you use a scroll. Often use a scroll at the beginning of a combat. If it's an attacking scroll. So that's an important thing to remember. I've played D&D since first edition and other RPGs as well, and I think your dice set solution to combat is just brilliant. Brian, thank you. Yeah, listen. I'm always striving for originality. It's so difficult in a world that's so saturated with wonderful creators. You know, I just think I was looking at how dice work, because fighting fantasy roll to hit. You know, with anything it's roll to hit. But how could you bring the physicality of combat into that system? You know, when you're fighting, I was thinking about how could the maneuvers be represented in the combat, and I was thinking, well, maybe in some way I could change the roll by having some value, and it just suddenly popped into my head, and I was like, shift. I could shift it, so I could shift the die, and that would represent your skill and how adept you were. You know, everybody swings, but how you do that can then be affected, and that's kind of where that comes from. So thank you, thanks a lot. Right. Scrolls tutorial is a brilliant idea. I'm going to look at that as well. That is excellent. Thank you. Right, huge rat. Round 1. Get rid of that. I roll a 4-5, which I can shift to a drubbing. Let's have a look at this rat. He's got no interrupts. One of the few creatures that has no interrupts. And the damage does very little. So as a warrior, just a huge rat isn't going to be much of a challenge, but you need low-end stuff. So I did adjust it. I did take out 2 creatures from the selection. So I took out the grunt, the runt, or something like that. And the handler. I just didn't think like needing. The grunt was too weak, and he was very much like a thug anyway. So right, we're going to do damage here. This has 3 health points. So to kill this, I need to roll a 5 or higher, and I roll a 4. So we do 2 points of damage. Let's just put rat 3 down to 1, and now he rolls. It rolls to attack. 4-2. There you go. He's 4-3, so he can shift it to 3, and he hits. Suddenly, this rat is up at me. Darn. So he's got D6 -4. He's got 4s and 3s. I block on primary 4s. So it's minus. He has to roll a 6 to do me 1 point of damage. That is the state of affairs. And he rolls a 2, so it doesn't do me any damage. And 6-4 is a drubbing, which is an exact strike. I'm just like, I've had enough of you, and it squishes the rat. That is D6 +1 +2, so D6 +3. Even though I rolled a 1, I felt a bit sorry for the rat in the end. I still do 4 points of damage, and that takes him down to -3. Oh, and I didn't get the experience for the last warrior guard, so I'll put that on there as well. So that's 272 plus some experience for the rat, just 2 points. 274 on my experience chart there. Okay. So that was pretty quick, nice, simple. So that's nice to see that, you know, something weak dies pretty easily, even though it had a bit of a chance at doing some damage. So imagine if you're up against 5 rats or something like that. Although I haven't actually, I kind of feel like 3 is the maximum you really want to be dealing with on the rolls. So I've just got to make sure that I make stronger characters for the next levels. Okay, so we can carry on, and we can find out. What did we find out what that room was? Oh, we did. Yes, we rolled a 6. That's magic scrolls. Here we go. What do we roll? Indoor camp. There we go. Right, indoor camp. Indoor camp. There we go. Large room. So the indoor camp. 3 chairs around a burner. So we've got a burner in the wall up here. It's got like a tiled area, a flute coming up the top here so that it goes out of the dungeon. There's some fire, and we've got some chairs around the burner here, like so. Nice. Don't forget the rat tail treasure, of course. That is a very good point. I will add that on, because the rat tails are as part of a quest. The rat tails, I write that on my small items here. You don't get blooded taking a rat tail as well. Thank you for the reminder. 911 Gargoyle. I'm looking at the Kickstarter page and see that there are add-ons, but I don't see a price. Ah, well, when you go to when you select a tier and then go proceed through, it gives you the price, gives you a list, gives you what it is and the price of the add-ons. There's additional cards. There's an additional expansion which is £10. Additional cards which are £12. There's a bookmark. You can order extra copies. We had to really and ah about the cards. Ah, you found it. Good. 9-1 Gargoyle, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for joining in. Excellent stuff. Someone is sitting by the burner. They attack. Roll GTET1, and then afterwards IAUT1. So we'll have to see what is going on there. Right. So GTET1 4. A guard. Another guard. Okay. So let's do this. We've got a guard. And let's put another one of these guards. You do encounter a fair few guards in the dungeon. Round 1. Let's write guard up here. Guard 7 HP. Let's just make sure that's in shot there. I've got the computer over there, which is why I look in that direction. And round 1. Let's do this. 4, 5. So I can shift that to a pummel, which is 3. Again, let's not forget, -1 damage because secondary 3s are blocked with the shield as the interrupt. So it's damage D6 -2, so it's -3. So I need 4, 5, or 6 to do any damage. Let's have a look. And I fail miserably. Picks up the shield, defends. Nice work. The guard 6-1. Interesting. They have a swipe at 6-2. So they can shift that to 2 because they've got 1 shift point. And they will then roll damage, which is just one die, 4. So it's 6s and 6 and a 2. My armor doesn't deflect any of that damage, so they do 1 point of damage to me, which takes me down to 19. So they have hit me there. Okay, and I roll 2-1, which is very weak for me. I've got nothing down the lower end of the numbers there. Round 2, their attack 4-3. So they can shift that to a 5. This guard is doing well. So 5, that's a 5-3. I block on primary 5s, so -2 damage because of my bishop's mantle. And so it's actually, they need a 5 or 6 to do me any damage. And they roll a 3, so they don't do any damage there. Round 3. I roll a 2-6, which is pretty poor. I miss. And then they roll a 1-6, which is poor for them. They miss as well. Round 4. And we got the shift adjustment die goes in there. 2-2. Can I shift that? I can do 2 on that one and then 1 on that one, making it 4-3. And this then means that I can do a pummel, which is d6 -2. They get the shield, helps to defend this one. And I roll 5, doing 2 points of damage to the guard, taking it down to 5 there. Their turn. 2-3. No, they cannot shift to that. They've got +2 shift. They're just 1 off making a stab maneuver. They stab, it just misses me. Round 5. So here we go. +2 shift, so +4 shift. I roll a 4 and a 2, which is, I can shift to 6 and a 4, which allows me to do a drubbing, which is, they block -1 on that, so it's d6, 1 point of damage. Okay, so down to 4. Okay, so that's their attack 1-4. Now that's quite far off any of their, so they can't shift to that. And then mine 6-3. We've got I got +5 shift on this one, and yes, I can shift this to a drubbing. The warrior is tired, exposed, and a drubbing. It's 6d6 damage because he gets to block with a shield. Still, he raises it even though he's tired. 5 points of damage, which takes him down to -1, killing the warrior. Now, he managed to get some damage on me there. But yet, I still dispatched him fairly easily. You've got to take into consideration that they can roll prime attacks as well. Double 6s means that they do a special attack. So there are other ways of these characters damaging me. I still have to think about, is that too weak? You know, as the balance. Thinking the long game. But I think that's okay for the moment. So the guard, we get to roll on the pouch table, which is at the back here. Random pouch table. Here we go. 2d6, 7. A few coins rattle in the pouch. Gain 4d6 copper coins and 2d6 silver coins. Right, let's do this. And the experience as well. We'll put that on in a sec. So we get 5, 6, 9 copper coins and 2d6 silver coins. 11 silver coins. Thank you. We'll go with that one there, and you can see that's all been updated on the column in the character sheet here. Put it on that one, and then copper coins there. And let's put the experience points, 13 experience points here. Just put it on here, 200 and 87. And then we've got one more table to roll on for this room. Balance seems good. Anyone can roll badly and get killed by a lowly opponent. Yeah, I mean, thanks Steve. I think the fact is, when you hit level 2, someone like a guard will struggle to kill you, because unless your hit points have been drained below 10, you're not vulnerable. When you're level 1, you've got 10 hit points, you're kind of vulnerable. But if they chip away at you, if you're kind of like, I've lost 3 there, 2 there, and you come into another room and you're low, then that contributes to your downfall. All right, so here we go. So the room says roll on IAUT 1 interruptions and unexpected table 1, and we have 14. 1, 4. You cross the room but stagger as the floor falls away from beneath you. You grab for the ledge, roll 2d6 and add your precision. On a 7 or higher, you grab hold and climb 3. On a 6 or lower, you fall in and lose 3 health points and then climb out. Okay. Alright, so there's something about this space. I've come across here into this larger area where they weren't sitting, and the floorboards have fallen away. So we've got to roll. Roll 2d6 and add your precision. My precision is +1 because I'm level 2. So let's do this. So 8 + 1 is 9. On a 7 or higher, you grab hold and climb 3. So as the floor gives way, I'm going to draw in a hole here, and there's a kind of like a hole down the bottom here. I managed to save myself and don't take any damage. Now imagine if you had 2 health and that appeared and you fell down here. Yeah, there is a table you roll on if you go below 0 or to 0 outside combat, because it's a different sort of circumstance. 2 lowly opponents at the same time can be a nightmare. Exactly, especially if it goes to the second part of the combat. So if you go deeper into combat, facing a couple of opponents can be really dangerous. Really dangerous. As we saw in the last session, I faced, where was it, down here, 2 warriors and a scout, and they did me, oh no, it wasn't there, was it? Was it the bar? Was it? No, oh yeah, it was over here, a labourer and a thug, lowly people, but they took 15 points off me. They beat me up big time. So let's put this little narrative here. At the guard post, indoor camp, the floor fell away, but I was able to grab the ledge and saved myself. So I put a little narrative in there. Don't do as many as I could do. Could do a few more of those. Okay. You begin with 2 maneuvers. So is it possible to get more as there are 3 slots? Might have missed it in the rules. Yes, you do. And there's a little table here in the rules. Yeah. Here. So you can level up. Number and max level of maneuvers. So you got your max number of levels. When you reach level 4, you can choose level 2 maneuvers, which are more powerful. On the maneuvers table, so you can see here that Gargoyle, thank you for the backing on Kickstarter. Well, I've seen streamers say put some love in the chat for Gargoyle. He has just pledged and backed 2d6 Dungeons. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for backing. That's very kind of you. Okay, so there's that levels table, and then that reflects on the manoeuvres table. You can imagine the amount of fun I had putting this together. If we go to the manoeuvres table in here, thanks Gargoyle. So manoeuvres table here, you can see, and it's quite complex. It's quite small, but you've got level 2 manoeuvres down here. They do more damage, and level 3 some serious damage, like 2d6 plus 4 damage. That would annihilate people in the lower levels, as you can see. So that's there. So there is a progression, a skill, you get better, and all that sort of stuff. Good. Okay, so that was exciting. We had a we had a warrior, and then I fell down a hole. We found some loot as well, some cash, which is always nice. So we're going to carry on through this door here and see where this room takes us. 4-7. All right. Sorry, 4-3. It adds up to 7. So I'm going to squeeze the room in up here. So it's 3 vertically and 4 across, like so. And you know what I didn't check? Indoor camp exits. Sometimes you do find yourself going back to check these things. Indoor camp, wooden doors. So this is a wooden door. Let's roll to see whether it's locked, and it isn't locked, thankfully. So we go through there, and we find this room here. How many exits does this room have? There's 2 walls it could have exits on. It has 2 exits. Interesting. So we'll go there like this, and then there like this. All right. So we're coming to this situation now where we've got a very small space, and we're going to be kind of fitting them in as we explore. Let's find out what this room is, and roll on the level 1 ancestry. And here we go. 5-4. Training room. Now, do we have a training room already? I don't think we do. No, we don't have a training room. Okay. Training room. We're going to write it here. All right. Now, training room. That doesn't sound good, does it? There is a bashed up mannequin and a pole covered in cut marks. Let's put that in here. Put the mannequin over here, and then a pole here. Training room. A warrior is practicing here. You must fight him. After, roll on IAUT 1. And the exits are random. So we'll roll for exits quickly. Here we go. It jumps out of this table. He says. Here we go. Random. Level 1. These doors, 46 wooden doors. Okay. So we've got wooden doors. Here, the training room, and a warrior is in there doing their thing, practicing, chopping away at a mannequin. Let's just bring this up. There we go. Warrior. And swing this into place, this card here. There we go. Round 1. And then just write warrior on here. 9 XP health points. So I have increased the strength of the warrior. Before, we had a look at it, and there's a few comments about the damage being too nerfed, so I changed that. He does more damage, and I put his HP up as well. His HP, and did I do anything else? No, that's it, I think. I might have added interrupt as well. So, round 1, going to roll to hit. 1, 2 is no good for me. Okay. Table 2 comes into play for level 2. So there's going to be a exits table for every level. So, and on some of those, you're going to have things like locked. Level 2 shows that some of the doors are automatically locked, so makes it more tricky. That's when things like rations come into play, because if you have to wait for somebody, if you don't eat a ration, you lose some health points. Okay, so their attack 1, 3. Right, interesting. So they have a 1, 2 slash attack, D6 -2. Now that's a primary. Shift it to a 2. I don't block any of that damage. Now when it does a flurry, I'll be able to defend against that particular type of maneuver. Vic, hello. Good to see you. Good to see you. Right, so slash 2, a D6 -2. This could be an interesting fight. Oh, 4 points of damage. All right. So now I'm beginning to think, right, that's dangerous. I shouldn't really lose against warrior, but I like to think, what are my potions? What potions have I got? So a potion of healing that heals 10 health points. A potion of fidelity plus 1 precision for 1 dungeon level. That's something to take at the beginning of the dungeon level, maybe. Potion of shield aura, -1 damage for 1 combat. Potion of examination, +2 to treasure rolls in 1 room. Okay, so I could bear that in mind. So the potion of shield aura could be handy. If you quaff a potion in combat, you miss that round of combat, and then it goes to the enemy. So you want to kind of think, do you want to take it, drink it early? Oh, by the way, Vic, I am going to put on some retail options. I'm going to put them probably on tomorrow. I had to wait for my wife to come back. She does all the logistics and the pricing of things like postage. So she was really busy yesterday. So we will get that sorted. And when that happens, I will let you know, my friend. All right. So they've done me some damage. Round 2. So round 2. Here we go. 6, 2. So that I can shift that to a 4, which means I do a drubbing, which is D6 +1. Let's just check. He does a bracer block on 4s, -1 damage, and a dodge on secondary 3s, which is neither of those. So it doesn't deflect any damage. This is D6 +1. 1 +1 is 2 damage to the warrior. He's down to 7 points of damage there. Excellent. Oh, not excellent. Poor. But typical. Yay, we want to get some awesome faux leather ones for people. Yes, that's going to be great. We'll definitely sort out the retail prices for that. Yes, I did borrow Scott's die. Right, round 2, and it's their attack. 3, 2. Let's have a look. No, they can't quite. Now, if they had a +1 shift, they had 2 shift, they could have gone 4, 3, but they don't. Oh, they could have gone 4, 3, or the slash. Okay, so they miss. Round 3. 1, 3, and as we know, if I roll a low number on this attack roll, my dice set, my maneuvers, there aren't any low numbers on there. So my next maneuver, I'm going to pick one that has low numbers on the dice set so that I can cover a wider range of attacks. with my maneuvers. So their attack 1-2, which is spot on. They get a slash. So they do D6. This is not looking good. D6 minus 2. They roll a 2, no damage. At the last minute, I managed to adjust and avoid taking any serious injury. Right, round 4. Let's go to 1 here. Oh, we got another backer. Excellent. The has backed. I don't know exactly who it was, but thank you anyway. The. My turn. +1 shift. I roll a 2 and a 6. Ouch. 2 and a 6. Can I shift it? No, I can't. I can't shift it. Right, their attack. 5-3, which is really nice for them. They can shift that to flurry, which gives them a 4, primary 4. But I can block with the primary 4. I can do -1 damage with this one. So it's D6 -3. Luckily enough, my jerkin absorbed some of the impact. So we're good. So no damage taken there. We're now on to round 5 with 2. 6-3. Now that's more like it. That is, I can shift that to a drubbing, which is D6 +1. Let me just check here. No, he can't block any of it. Let's do this. 6. There you go. 7 points of damage. He had 7. He is killed with that one mighty swing of the heavy mace. Kadunk. Excellent. So the warrior is down. Let's just put on here my experience points. So that's 30 experience points. That's pretty high. I might nerf that. Warrior XP nerf. I think. Yes, I think I will. So that's 30. So let's say that's 317. I mean, he's pretty good, but even then, maybe that is a little bit much. I need to have a little just compare what I've put the experience points at. We'll see. Okay, good. And then I get to roll on the random pouch. Let's see what this guy has got in his pouch. Here we go. Random pouch. And 8. There are some Malaco leaves inside. All right, let's have a look at this here. So, Malaco leaves. Right, so if we have a look at remedies. So I've got some in my bag here. I have got some Zamorus leaves. And do they combine? I cannot remember. So you can combine certain remedies together to create yourself something medical. Just check here. Here we go. Malaco leaves combined with Ilias petals makes a healing balm. So it's not that one. Zamorus leaves and Ilias petals and scarlet Oriventus leaves. Okay. Right, so what I can do is I can chew the Malaco leaves and restore some health. So I'm going to do that. When you create a remedy like this, you roll to see how many doses it has. So I'm going to roll a d6. It's d3 doses you get. I get 2 doses. So I'm going to chew those straight away and then cross the Malaco leaves off. That gives me heals 2 health points. So I will then restore 2 health points here, which brings me up to 17. 17 health points there. Excellent. Done that and that and that. Move that across there. And so we've got one last thing. Now that we've dispatched this guy, we've got to roll on the IAUT table again, which we did before. And we'll see what else is in this space. 62. You must have been making too much noise, for there's a shout, and in bursts a foe. Roll on L1 RPT +1 and face the enemy. God damn it! Just when I thought I'd got away with it. Alright, so someone's heard me and they've rushed in, because this is an active dungeon. That's what I was trying to get across with this type of encounter. So, RTT random patrol table. Let's have a look here. Should just be in the back one of these. Random armor. Maybe that's the wrong one. Let me just check that reading again. Sorry if I'm breaking the immersion. Just trying to check what did I roll? 64. It may be that this table is wrong. Let me just double check. No, it wasn't 64. What did I roll? Yes. You're right. I didn't actually look it up in the front alphabetically. I was just random patrol table. I should have looked it up in here, really, shouldn't I? And it doesn't seem to be there. Okay. Hang on a minute. No. See, this is the thing, right? This is one thing you come up against sometimes is the reference to the table, which is what I was talking about earlier on. Here we go. Making too much noise. L1 RPT +1. L1 RPT. Level 1 random patrol table. So it's going to be level... here we go. Look, level 1 RPT. 28. Okay. I just probably looked straight at it and just didn't see it. More about me being blind than anything else, I think. There it is. Okay, +1. It's a guard and a guard dog. Okay. There's barking. Let's just move this here. This could be, you know, could pose a few problems here. Guard, dog. All right. I've taken the post out there, rubbing that a little bit of post, so I've got a bit of space to write in these numbers. All right. Ouch. Dog smelled the blood and came searching. Indeed. Absolutely right, Nick. I completely smashed that guy and he made such a smell. Right, let's get this set up. 2 foe. Right, we haven't had 2 foe yet today, have we? So we've got a guard and the guard dog. So he's got his pet dog. He loves him. He loves his dog. There he is. Let's put him here. Hopefully that squeezes on. Right, so round 1. 3, 6. I cannot shift. So then they get to attack. 6, 1. He can shift. She can shift that to a swipe. Okay. Already I'm getting a bad feeling about this. I know it's there as I have used it and got the same result, lol. Yeah, this is the, you remember this one. Right, damage. Oh, 6. All right, so that is a -3, and it's a 2 6. No, 3 points of damage. She's like, oh, she's got the upper. She's got the bit between her teeth. Right, and the dog. 2, 1. No. Right, me. Round 2. 3, 4. I can shift that to 4, 3, which gives me a pummel, and blocks secondary 3. So they get -1. We've already faced a guard today. We know that they're effective against the pommel with the bash. So we've got -3. So it's D6 -3. 3, I do no damage. Effectively blocks me. Guard 5, 2, 5, 1. Cannot shift. Kill the dog. Kill the guard, and the dog half killed me. Ah, there you go. It shows you even a weak character like the guard dog. It can get you. It can get you when the shift's up high. Okay. Right. What was I rolling for? I've forgotten. Was that the... Is it my attack? Come on, guys, tell me. Was it my attack or the guard's attack? I just completely shifted it. It's your attack. Thank you, Nick. 5, 5. And I can shift that to a drubbing, which is good news because that's my most effective attack. 6, 4. So that's D6 damage. 3 damage to the guard, which is good news. The guard has 7 hit points. The dog has 6. 3 down to 4 on the guard. Round 3. Okay, excellent. Thank you. And then the guard attacks. 1, 4, no. And the dog 6, 3, no. That would have been closer if they'd had 1 + 1 shift. Right, round 4. Yes. Up the stakes. So my attack 2, 6. Which I'm getting used to knowing that isn't a very good roll for me, so I miss. You see, my character has an intrinsic flaw. Now, Nick says, it's the guard's attack. On an interrupt like that, wouldn't they have an advantage and start battle instead of you? Just thinking. Yeah, no, that is a good point. It's tricky. It's tricky. Potentially. Did we discuss that before? Really, that should be in the text of the encounter on the table, really. Put something like they attack first. But again, it's a question of space. I may have put something in the book. I can't remember whether I did or not with that one. It's a interesting one, though. Interesting one to think about. Right, the guards attack. 4, 3. They can shift to stab, which they do, and it's D6. Oh boy, 4 points of damage, down to 10. Right, I've just got to hope. If I don't hit, let's see, 2, 5 for the dog. The dog doesn't bite either. Doesn't bite. Full stop. My turn. I've got a potion of healing. So if I don't kill the guard this time, I'm probably going to use the potion of healing. It's round 5, +2 shift. Not good. 4, 2. So I have got +4 shift. I can go drubbing. 6, 4. Excellent. And they block some of the damage. It's D6 damage. 4 damage. And that kills the guard. Excellent. Close. Right, now the dog. Let's move that out of the way. The dog is left. The dog gets an attack. 6, 4. it has 3 shift. So I can shift that to a bite. It latches on. Can shift it to a bite. Damn! Get its master, and it's like, how dare you? Bang! Bites me. Okay, so that is D6 minus 2 damage. Savage, but I do block on primary 4s. Minus 1 damage, so it's D6 minus 3. 1 damage, it does no damage. I shrug it off. Excellent. Right, let's get rid of this dog. He's got 6 health. He's quite meaty. Did I miss? Ah. Oh, darn, I missed that. Oh, well. So I probably didn't take as much damage. Is that what you're saying? Minus 2. Okay, so we'll give me an extra 12 there. Extra 2. So I got 12. Good spot, guys. It's easy to miss something. It doesn't matter in the end. Thanks, guys. I missed one there. Oh, well. Thanks, guys. Right, so I'm going to attack the dog. Round 6. Oh, no. 1, 6. I've got plus 5. I can't shift it enough. I can't shift it. The dog attacks. 6, 4. He has got 4 shift. He can go. He can bite. He bites. The dog. It's what you were saying before. Minus 3. 2 points of damage. Down to 10. This dog is vicious. My turn. 5, 4. I can shift that to a drubbing. Roll. Oh, it's just 2 points of damage. Takes him down to 4 points of damage. This dog is vicious. 3, 3. He can shift that to a bite, and he does. This is actually, this is interesting. The dog bite is right mid-range, so end battle. It's actually more. I might change that. Change dog dice set. Because if it was slightly lower, it means he'd have less chance of hitting at the later stages. But because he's in the middle, that particular attack is more easier to shift to. All right, here we go. 3. I get to minus 1 because of my jerkin, so no damage. 5, 4. I get to shift that to a drubbing. D6 plus 1. 5 damage. Did I do a... he gets to block on secondary 2s. So we will take 2 off for that. So it's 6, 4, 4. It still does the damage there. Okay. You can see you can get a little bit caught up there. I didn't spot his body barge blocking secondary 4s. Minus 2 damage. Again, don't worry too much about getting caught up in the excitement of it all. It really doesn't matter too much. Instead of changing the dice set, make it minus 3, possibly, but he will constantly hit at the higher stages. And being a weak character, I still think that's maybe a bit too OP. So that is interesting, but that's why we play this. You can see that dog, and in fact, was it Steve or Vic? Who was it who got killed by the dog? Where is it? I can't quite see it there. I'm going blind. But that dog nearly killed one of you guys. No, it was a snake. Okay, fine. But yeah. So that's something to note. It's the mechanic and how it works as the dice kind of get in the way. As the dice get more progressively worse as the rounds go on. So we've got XP 21 for those 2. So that is 338. And we've got some tables to roll on here. And for the pouch table, Random pouch table. Here we go. Eight. There are some Malico leaves. So some more Malico leaves. Excellent. And then we roll for the dog. He won't have any. No, dog doesn't have any. Oh no, it wasn't Malico leaves. I shall take that back because it's -1 on the roll. So it's 7. A few coins rattle. So there's 46 copper coins. Let's roll that. So we have got 10, 19 copper coins. They're not really worth anything. And 2d6 silver coins. 7 silver coins. Just putting that on here. Excellent. Good. A little bit of loot when you go back out of the dungeon. Okay. Superb. Shift that across here. Right, we've had a fair few encounters in this last section of the dungeon, haven't we? So, we're going to go down here. We're going to experience this room here and check that door there. If it's a 6, it's locked. It's a 4, it's not. So we go down and we've got this space here. How big is this space? So it's 5 across and 1. It's a corridor. So we've got 5 across here and 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It leads all the way across to here. That is fascinating. All right. Okay. Now, you can't have an exit in the same wall. So it can't have an exit this end, but I have an exit down here. That's how many exits has it got? It's got no exits. It's a dead end. Fascinating. Okay, so we've got no space here. So we're going to have 2 small rooms down here. Now, those rooms don't go anywhere. They don't lead out of the dungeon. This is the exit room up here. So you can, at this point, if you want to, just leave those spaces. They're dead ends. This is the part of the conclusion of the dungeon. This space up here is where the stairs are. This small room up here. And it's going to probably, well, it could be it could be an actual physical room because it could be 8 squares or it could be 6. If they're all small, it will fit in nicely. But I suspect it'll probably be more than 6. We will see. So let's check this door up here. 2. It's not locked. Just roll a 2 for the lock. This is a dead end. You can't do anything there. So I've gone back into this room and I'm going to check this door here. And let's have a look. Roll for this size of this room. Yeah, it is a large room. It's the last room of the dungeon. So I'm going to put the stairs in on the dungeon here. And I'm just going to show you the little section on it. Leaving the dungeon. Here we go. Okay, we've still got to figure out what the room is. All right, so we've got to encounter it. So, stairs down. See that? When you reach the last room on the level, the final room going forward that can be placed in the given space, place a stair icon with a downward pointing arrow next to it. Okay, so this is going to put the stairs in the corner of the room here, and with a downward arrow. But we still need to know what this room is. And we need to roll on the level 1 ancestry table. Here it is. Da-da-da-da. 34. Prayer room. Now, we've rolled that before. It is a unique room. So we roll again. 63. Feels like we've rolled that one before. Jail. No, it's not unique. So we can have a jail. There are some metal barred cells here set into the wall. The jailer jumps up. You must face her. That's meant to say them, by the way. Once resolved, roll on RPET1. Okay. Random prisoner encounter table. Okay, so we've got the jailer here. So this is the last fight for this level. Jailer. And we've got some cells in the wall here. We've got some bars there, maybe a bedroll and some straw maybe where they have to poo. I can't recall you having any interaction with a god or using inventive usage. Do you envisage more? Or is it designed to happen more often at deeper dungeon levels? You know, that is a very good point, Steve. It's something that I really want in the game. So what I might do is, I have added some more occasions when you can find them, but I just haven't rolled any today. I've been really unlucky on the god side of things. So that is a really good point. I do want to work it into the game. I'm going to have to add it to more descriptions. It is no doubt, I think a good part of the game that sometimes doesn't appear. So I do need to add that in. You're right. You're absolutely right. To help with the table names, as the intent is that they are all random, do you need the name random in the table? Nick, you hit the nail on the head, my friend. It's something, once I started doing it, I then realised, this isn't going to help looking up them alphabetically. They're all going to start with R. So, yes, you're right. You have addressed the elephant in the room. I do need to deal with the table aspect. And, yes, I'm going to sit down probably on one day next week, and I'm just going to really dig deep into the tables and get that sorted. You're absolutely right, my friend. Okay, so we've got the jailer. I know that some of you have had some shocking times with jailers, encountered jailers, and they've been a bit of a trouble. Here we go. Steve. Yeah, 6 months of find and replace work. Yeah. No, it's going to be... I'm going to have to just zone out. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm going to have to really get in there and deep dive. Just go through... They obviously, the room ancestry tables are key. So I have to go through that. And then the random encounters tables... Yeah, there'll be some reference there. There's no doubt. But once I get it nailed, it's going to be, it's going to be work of art, you know. So we'll get it nailed. And, you know, thanks to you guys, we're ironing out the creases. Right, we've got a jailer. He has 6 HP there. We've got a random prisoner in there potentially as well. So... round 1. Ding, ding, ding. 5. I can shift to a drubbing. To a 6-4. There. And that is D6 plus 1. Now, he can barge on secondary 2s. So 5 points of damage. Takes him down to 1. Now, it's interesting segue there. In a sense, in the Kickstarter, the stretch goals are random tables. We'll have a look at those actually in a a short time. And one of those is when an enemy reaches 1 hit point, you can roll on this random table. It's optional, totally optional. But given a situation like this jailer is down to 1 point first round. He may panic. So what I was thinking is having a kind of a role-playing option to roll on it. There's 11 options, and then they do something. They fall away, they retreat, they suffer some consequence, or they are invigorated by the thought of death. So there's that aspect to it. So that's coming with the Kickstarter, which is great. So he's down to 1 point. It's not looking good for him. He rolls a 6 and a 1. He's got a sharp kick. He's like, oh, take this. He sharp kicks me. I can shift it to 5-1. Not bad. I do actually, my Bishop's Mantle blocks on a 5, which gives it -2. So it's actually -4 damage. So he needs to 5 or 6 to damage me. And he gets a 5, which does me 1 point of damage. Which takes it to 9. And then I'm going to roll on round 2. I get a 5-5, which I can shift to a drubbing yet again, which is D6 plus 1. We know he's only got 1 point left, so that's 5 -4 for the jailer. Okay. He's dead. I get 10 XP. 3, 4, 8, and I get to roll on the pouch table again. Just bring that up here. Here we go. Random pouch table. In here. 6, 6, 12. The pouch is rammed with coins. You count 2d6 silver, which 8 silver, and putting that on here, and d6 gold plus 3. 6 gold coins. That is excellent. Wow. That jailer was he was earning some money somehow, wasn't he? So we've also got a prisoner. Oh, we've got another backer. David has pledged. Welcome, David, to the Kickstarter. Thank you for pledging. You are awesome. I don't know whether you're in chat or not, but we send our appreciation. Okay. Right. So I was actually thinking that I may stream the last, say, 3 or 4 hours as the Kickstarter ends. Maybe we'll do that. I'll think about how that would work. Okay, so we need what have we got here? Random prisoner encounter 21. Here we are. Random prisoner encounter 8. Inside a cage here is a wounded man. If you have some material to wrap the injury, he can escape. Let's have a look. What have we got here? Okay. So. I can see he's bleeding. He's bleeding out. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I go into my kit. Now, I have got a ceremonial silk cloak. Silk cloak worth 7 silver coins. Sod that. I'm going to rip that up and heal this guy. That is inventive usage. So that is the part of the role play of the game. So he's there, he's injured. I'm going to rip it up and bandage the wound. So that means I have to cross this cloak off. So I don't get that cloak. Can't sell that cloak on. But that doesn't matter because I have helped liberate a prisoner. And I add that to the character sheet over here on the right hand side. I've now liberated 4 prisoners. Which is awesome. So let's have a little look here. He has died. We've got rid of him. Get rid of that. Right. So that was the final act for the dungeon, and I've got Clive. Hey, welcome. Toby, I don't understand the stairs placement rule. Why could you choose to place in the corner room even though there are still some unexplored spaces? That is a great question. Let me explain. It is something that I've tried to sort of carefully explain the rules. It's a really tricky thing, but I'll show you here. Nick has said, let's just have a look here. Closing in on the 6k stretch goal, Steve has put there. Excellent. Right. So let me explain this rule. Let me read what I put in the rules here. Knowing it's the last room is about understanding your forward momentum. Your path will have led to this last space. You might have left random rooms unexplored, doors you did not open, but these would have led to dead ends and are therefore blocked in on all sides. More often than not, the last room is the final room on the journey through the level, potentially near the top of the page. So once you've filled the space within your outer boundary with rooms, corridors, etc., then the last room you enter will contain the steps down to the next level. Okay, so I cannot tell you how many times I rewrote that paragraph. It's probably the hardest thing to explain in the game. It's a real nightmare. But let me show you. And this is a really good example, this map. So I have got 3 exits where I could add rooms. So one over here, it's just a dead end space. Okay. This room here and this passage here both lead to this dead end space. Nothing is going to be in these spaces that will take me beyond into another passage, another room. Whereas this room here is the final room in a sense. It's the final space. Now I could have put that in and said, right? And then said, oh, I'll do these rooms as well and put the stair in one of these. You can do that if you want to, but you don't have to. You can see the amount of room I've had to explore. It is a lot. I have successfully completed level 1, and I can tick my legendary status ticker down here on my thing. I've passed the level 1 test. And it's also worth pointing out, the reason why this is the last room is because these I had left, in a sense, because I knew they wouldn't go anywhere. So this was the last room I generated. So that's another element to it as well. Right, I hope that's clear. It's really hard to kind of... Clive, it was the last possible room at the top. Yeah, the top is important. It may mean just a funny way... It's not just about it being the top, Steve. That's important to know. You have to fill the rest of the space as well. Yeah, it doesn't specifically that if you make your way to the top and you've got space around the dungeon, you have to explore the rest of the dungeon. You can't just go directly to the north and then you go out. You have to fill all the available space, unless the rooms that are there just lead to little dead ends. Okay, you've got like a pathway through. You have to fill the space. Otherwise, you don't qualify for your legendary tick on your box. You can just explore some dungeon, then leave, and then start another dungeon if you wanted to. But you have to fill the space. That's important to remember, Steve. And Clive. So these rooms here. So to sort of help highlight this, and then we'll go over the journey. I'm going to just put some shade in here a little bit and kind of leave the edge a bit rough, because those rooms obviously lead somewhere, but we didn't need to go into those rooms. So those are kind of basically you can only leave dead ends in the space. Although there's nothing basic about it really. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. You can, Steve, yeah. There's nothing in the rules that stipulate it has to be on the north borders. One thing it does say is one thing that I do put in here. More often than not, the last room is the final room on the journey through the level, potentially near the top of the page. There's nothing about the north border in the rules. It is just specifically you have to fill the space. If I'd gone up, if my journey had taken me east, up, north, round and round like that, and I hadn't encountered any spaces, but just happened to be my trail led me round and the stairs were in the middle of the dungeon, that would be fine. Okay? Thanks. I think I get it. It's an intuitive thing. If the last few spaces are small rooms that won't generate beyond themselves, and you can use your initiative as where you'd like to place the stairs. Exactly. It's like you do with the exits. You place them kind of where you see fit. And Steve, yeah, I'm glad that you asked this question, Steve, because I could see that that's potentially what your thinking was. And you see, for me, that's important that you thought that. It is important because that's part of the development of the game, and understanding what people might perceive as the rules is an important step to then making sure I highlight that isn't the fact in the rules, if you get what I mean. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Okay, so to check something there. Sorry, guys. Yes, you must design for us stupids. You are not stupid, honestly. Honestly, it is. So, I've set myself a challenge whereby I'm projecting rules onto a page that then people have then got to understand and then project to create their own worlds that they explore in a dungeon. It's fraught with problems and difficulties, you know, but you guys have helped so much with how that develops, how I can handle it. Right, so I'm just going to add in a little bit over here, then we'll have a little recap on the dungeon, have a look at the character sheet, and then we're in a good position. Right. So I'm just putting in over here some fog of war, if you like. Just put that space in there. Now you could argue this space over here, you could have a couple of smaller rooms appearing in this area, but that doesn't matter too much. It's completely surrounded, so it wouldn't really take you anywhere. Okay, so we have here, I might spend some time going over this in ink as well. I noticed someone had done that on one of their maps. I think, was it you, Steve, that had done that? Who else? Who was it? It might be Brian. Was it Brian? Did you do it, Brian? I thought it looked really nice. And thanks for all those lovely maps as well. Okay, so here we came into the dungeon, and we did find an intuneric mosaic, a damp space, and we fought a slimy gorger. Now we came to this large empty mess hall in this space here, and I'm going to think that is a big space that's empty, and really I need to sort of have a look at what the large room descriptions are like, whether I need those tables to be bigger. I don't think I do, but I might do, because one of my daughters played test it as well. She really enjoyed it, and she said that there weren't names for the large rooms, which made me think that maybe I need to slightly up that and change those tables so they're a bit bigger with a few more encounters, which would make it fun. So I need to upsize large tables, I think. All right, making notes. Now you can see that followed round, and we came into this space here with these kind of series of corridors, and we had a jail here, and we liberated 4 prisoners throughout this. Actually, we had a jail there, and we had a jail on the top where the stairs were, and we followed it round. There were some artisans working in a bar, or was that a morgue? It might have been a morgue. I didn't actually write the name of that room on there, which is silly. This is where the naming and the writing really helps. Dragon Shadow, hey, how you doing? How critical is 20 times 20 dungeon? That is a good question. If I made it 16 by 24, would that cause an issue? That's a really good question. Yes, and I hadn't thought about that. But now that I think about it, let me explain why I think it might make a difference. If you create a narrower layout for the dungeon, okay, you've got to generate rooms through that space, right? So when they go through that narrow space, there's more chance of having a larger room to block that space off and then block part of the dungeon off to access. So it may be, if you put a big room in on a narrow dungeon, you can't then get beyond that room to the space above it. So having a square means you've got a wider field through which you could explore. That is my thinking. So I think it needs to be 20 wide and 20 deep so that you get a certain you will be forced to have a bigger dungeon, whereas if it was narrower and longer, then you would have less chance. There would be a chance that you would be able to get away with exploring less of a dungeon for your legendary status tick for level 1. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Thank you for the question, Dragon Shadow. Thank you. My first dungeon was 35 by 43, and that's big. This dungeon is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. 28 by 28, I think. And that has given me basically, it's probably been 4 hours. Do you think it's been 4 hours? Maybe 4 to 6 hours of play. And that has been, it's been intense. The story, the narrative, the evolution of the character. We had some pretty vicious attacks. One thing that's clear to me is when you get an extra encounter in a room, like the hole in the floor, that adds a lot of depth to the game. And I want to look at ways at which I can kind of enhance that aspect of it. So I'm kind of thinking about how the tables are structured. Maybe I need to have some other tables that just add a few things in, like traps and stuff like that. The optional tables could come into play here, the ones that are part of the stretch goals in the Kickstarter. So I've got to have a think about that. But, this is what I would consider to be an impressive level 1 dungeon. We've got some great content here, some great characters, some great experiences. My character, let's have a little look at Arundel Knox. And what have you said? Let's have a look here. It worked really well for me, gave me lots of room for rooms and adventure. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, if you go big, that is it's mega. You're working on a big campaign. Each level doesn't have to be the same. You can have different levels that are, you can have 20-20, 30-20, not a 30-20. Yeah, 30-20 because it's 20 wide. You can have, it's got to have that 20 in there. You can have a 40 by 40 and then go down to a 20-20. You know, there are those options, and you'll be tempted to make the dungeon smaller, the level smaller. The deeper you go, the harder it becomes. All right, that is what I figured. Was hoping to use my Rocket book, but its graph only goes 16 wide, but 25 tall. Damn it, Dragon Shadow. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, that's my thinking. I mean, you could still look. You could still play it at 1625. I mean, I don't think that would be too big a deal, to be honest. You would just have to, if you found yourself in a situation where something trapped you, stopped you from going further, you could just improvise and add an extra exit in on one of the rooms so you could continue on your mission. There's nothing wrong with that. The inventive usage, the narrative, the imagination that goes into this game, it allows for that flexibility. It's not completely rigid, although it's got a sound set of principles and rules that will kind of shroud you in something that's solid and consistent. Right. Traps being a hole in the floor makes me think you could drop into the next level of dungeon before you intend to, lol. Nick, that takes me right back to Dungeon Master. When I don't know whether you played Dungeon Master on the Commodore Amiga or was it on the C64 as well? Dungeon Master, classic game. You could drop through levels with that one. I think it was that one anyway. That's my memory. But yeah, no is the answer. We're not dropping through levels. That would really complicate things. Could you imagine how I'd have to figure that out with the rules? I don't know. There's no way of doing it. So we've got Arundel Knox. So right, we're not going back to the town at this point because we've already gone back to the town once. So I'm thinking he's going to be heading into level 2. We haven't got level 2 tables ready yet. I'm going to get those ready hopefully this coming week, and then I'll do some play testing on Friday or Saturday of level 2 tables. But I'm thinking I need to go into the next level. Now, I've only got 9 health points. That's not great. I do have a potion of healing, so I'm going to use that now. Cross that off there. That is going to bring me up to 19. But I've also got some Malako leaves. Oh no, I don't have got Malako leaves. That was a misroll. Ignore me. Ignore that. So I'm going to take this right back to 19 up here. So 19 up there. So we've got 19. That's fine to go down to the next level. I've also got a potion of shield aura, which I need to bear in mind. Sometimes it's difficult to remember what exactly you're carrying, but that would be a very handy one. That's -1 damage for 1 combat. If I come up against some of the new characters. Now, some of the new characters that we're putting into the next level, which is the domain level, is we're going to have a mercenary, we're going to have a barrack knight. Okay, so the barrack order of knights, they're the sort of dark knights, but I wanted to give them sort of like a name, some sort of history. So we have knights. We got mystics are going to be involved because they work for the overlord who is on this level. Okay, so the next level we're going to have our first boss, if you like. We're also going to have a brown bear. So there's some of the characters that are going to be added to the mix of characters that we've got already. Now on level 2, if you meet a guard, it's a guard still. So there's going to be a mix, but there's going to be new characters that are stronger that add to the mix, and rooms that are more dangerous to face. So that's exciting to look forward to. Now, it's also probably worth noting on the cat sheet here, I've got 4 liberated prisoners. When I go to the next level, I'm probably going to at some point go escape to go to the town for one night and then come back. So I'll be able to figure out what the liberated prisoners gives me, because for every liberated prisoner you get to roll on the liberated prisoner table, which can give you rewards. So we'll see how that goes. I also I've got my tick on my thing there. I'm at 348 XP, so it's 500 is the next level. So we will see how long it takes me to get there. I haven't been bloodied or soaked, which is quite nice. I've got some narrative moments. We've had a look at some of those before, and we've just seen the rest today, so we're good on that one. I've got a coil of rope, and I've got a number of pouches, Zumarus leaves, wood shavings, which you can use for sacrifices or offerings to gods, same as tea leaves. I've got a wooden cross, a vial of black ink, and a rat tail. So that's where my character's at. He's got 2 rations, and incidentally you have to use a ration when you go down a level, but I'll cross that off when we carry on with Arundel Knox's adventure. Brilliant. Okay. Chutes and ladders as a 3D dungeon. Rename from 2d6 to traps and ladders. No, the 2d6 fits into a heritage of names that are part of this genre of game. So we've got D100, we've got some others, dice-related games. So I wanted it to fit into that genre. It's kind of like part of that category of solo player dungeon crawler. And of course, the 2d6 that you roll all the time. There's nothing more about this game than the 2d6. It really is an integral part of how the game functions. I designed it around it being 2d6. I wanted it to be 2d6. That's why it's named that. Has anyone been bloodied or soaked in playtesting? I only asked, it has never happened to me. That is another good point. Frequency of bloodied and soaked. I need to look at that. I do want that as part of the game. It's a rule that kind of hangs in the background there, but when it happens, it can be dramatic. So you're counting up the rooms, ticking the ticks until you start to get fever or pneumonia. It's like a timed mechanic. It's a subtle mechanic that's in the background. Yeah, I have been soaked, but a couple of rooms later, I was able to heat myself up at a burner. A couple of the rooms we've had burners and heaters where I could have done exactly that. Right. So, are there any other questions about this at the moment? What do you guys think? Is there anything that you would like me to answer? Because I think we've had a good 2.5 hour session. I wasn't serious with the name change. Was playing off. Yeah, no, that's fine. No, that's fine. Yes, I actually like the cheese. Good. Yeah, no, I know. I like. It's interesting when I do these streams and I talk about it. It's just basically I'm in that mode of trying to tell it how it is, so I can explain it. But yes. No, I didn't take it too seriously or anything. I dove into a pool and had a burner available, so I was good. There you go. Yeah, you can. I've jumped into pools and I found that you have to get chests, and then lo and behold, you're soaked and you have to monitor it. Are all 10 levels going to go through testing? Will extend the Kickstarter too much? Good question. Good question. So, by the time we get to 3s and 4s, level 3 and 4, I think what we'll find is largely the testing will finish that first phase. I still want people to test the game, but I'm going to get to a stage where I'm going to have to release the game. So to the backers of the Kickstarter. So I want to give myself a good period, but yes, I think that you will carry on testing, but there will be less. There'll be all the updates will kind of gather, and there'll be one massive update. If you see what I mean, I won't be able to do lots of little updates. I'll have to log them all and then do the one big update on things. But what we've been doing is nailing certain rules, questions, clarifications. By me just changing the tables, really the things that we're going to be looking for are typos and maybe balancing of characters, which is going to be an important thing. You know, companies that have that bring in millions a year release games that still have balance issues. So you can imagine it's just me. Well, it's not just me, it's me and you guys that are trying to spot the balance. So, you know, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time. But as you can imagine, I'm going to be working incredibly hard over the next 2 months to make sure we get this nailed, to get it done. Because I want to be able to release it as soon as I can. I want to get this game out there. Clive says, maybe with people asking about grid paper, we can tempt Toby into throwing in a dotted grid PDF or two for us as a stretch goal, so we can reprint blank dungeons. Clive, that is a great idea. I'm going to do that anyway. Yeah, it's not a separate PDF. For dot grid. Okay, now it's in the back of the book, and you print it out and you cut it out and you stick it together. But for the digital, I could include a separate page, A4 page for a dot grid with a little level thing at the top right hand corner, maybe some 2d6 branding. Maybe I'll think about it. It's always worth thinking about these things. Yeah, it is at the back there. I mean, look, don't worry about missing that. It's not a problem. There are also good, lots of sort of maths websites where you can download dot grids, or people have books full of dot grid paper that you can use. In fact, Dragon Shadow, you were talking about that earlier, weren't you? About having a book with the particular sequence. So, and you've said here, so if prefer smaller squares, can especially like 8mm, or if you prefer larger 16mm. Yeah. So you can use smaller dot grids. Obviously, these ones I'm using here are centimetre spacing, and that means it feels like I've got enough space to write things in, do some little drawings. Feels right. You could have a much larger sheet with wider spacings and do like really grand big maps if you wanted. That would be fascinating to see if someone did that. If you increase the size of the dot spacing and then had a big map, you could really go to town on drawing some beautiful maps. And don't get me wrong, I'm also a cartographer. I've drawn extensive dungeon maps in the past. That does sound like a really interesting thing to do. I don't have a lot of time to do that, unfortunately, but that would be interesting. Clive, as an alternative, have our... yes. Now, Dungeon Scrawl is a really good thing, actually. I need to link that in with on somewhere. I need to put that somewhere. I have a Rhodia dot pad. Those are fantastic if you can afford them. Yes. Challenge accepted. A 100 times 100 dungeon. Oh, Dragon Shadow. Oh, you better send me pictures of that map. I want to see it. And Clive says, that one's new to me. We'll have a look. I've previously just used Grid Cartographer in Digital Space. Wow. I use Dungeon Scroll. It's awesome. Dungeon Scroll does look amazing. It's funny. When I created the game, I thought to myself, the relationship for me was important to have the pencil and the paper. The connection for me was there. I hadn't anticipated the use of Dungeon Scroll, and so it just opened up a whole raft of possibilities when you guys demoed that on the Facebook page, and I thought, this is fantastic. They're making these awesome grids. I've used the pictures in the Kickstarter. They're so good. And I just thought to myself, this is it. This is, you can open something up and they'll show you other techniques. Imagine people complexly. That's how you should always think of people. And you guys have just shown me other ways of doing stuff. And I just love some of those excellent dungeon scrolls. I love the dungeon scroll, and I love the drawings that we're getting. The rawness of the drawings is amazing. This one here is, I'm going to put this on the Kickstarter page, and I'm also, as I say, I'm going to go over it in ink and kind of make it look kind of more fancy, if you like. So exciting stuff. What have we got here? With 100 times 100, remember rules state you can only go to town once unless otherwise stated. Nick, you are so right. Yes. Yeah, you are so right. You're gonna be really up against it in a dungeon like that. You're gonna have lots of fights. So, unless you roll lots of empty rooms, which actually is quite difficult. Awesome. Okay. That's been a great stream. Well, Arundel Knox has done really well. And the Kickstarter guys, thank you so much for backing. It's just blown me away how people have engaged with this, and I just know it's because it's the adventure, the magic of exploring the dungeon. For some of us, it goes right back to our roots. But when we're kids, growing up role-playing, watching films, reading books about these things, we want those adventures. 2d6 is going to bring us those adventures. Guys, you have been awesome. Take care. I'm going to do another stream very soon, once level 2 tables are ready. Guys, thanks again. I have to reach across there to turn it off, so it's always a really bad ending. So you guys take care. I'm always monitoring Facebook and trying to keep things up to date. So you take care. I will catch up with you very soon.